Welcome everybody here. Come on, we're late. Come on, come on, come on. Welcome to our Amud Yomi Shiur in Maseches Bava Metzia, Daf Pei Vav Amud Aleph. We're going to learn today about Avraham Avinu. You think you know about Avraham Avinu, well, you don't. Fascinating, fascinating facts about Avraham Avinu and the visits of the Malachim. Fascinating facts about Shlomo HaMelech. Unbelievable stuff. You have to stay here. Torah anytime. And YouTube. Thank you everybody here in Avos Shalom. Hakol Atuma, let's just get straight into it. The first few lines are not Agadata, are halacha, and they have to do with the Mishnah that we learned before. We have 4 lines from the bottom of the page and the 2 dots. Hakol Keminag Hamedina. Yeah, excuse me, no. We are in Maise Baba Yochanan ben Matthias. Sorry, 2 lines before the end of the page. 2 lines, not 4, 2 lines. Maise Baba Yochanan ben Matthias She'omer Lebnoi Tzev. What was the story in the Mishnah? The story in the Mishnah was as follows. What happens, says the Mishnah, if a person doesn't know whether lunch, I'm not talking about the time of lunch or breakfast, whether the food, the actual food of the worker, who's supposed to provide food for the worker? The boss, the employer, or the worker, the employee? That's a question of the Mishnah. And we said, Akol K'minhag Medina, depends what's normal, what's the social working norm by everybody else. That's what you have to follow unless known otherwise. Also, regarding the quality of the food. Yeah, we said, if it's normal to give everybody else a nice, I don't know, 3 dishes meal, 3-course meal, or proper lunch, chicken and couscous and potato puree, whatever, then do that. And ice cream. If it's normal to give them a sandwich with, I don't know, a little bit of butter instead of the meat, fine. Whatever is normal by the Medina, that's what you give them, fine. And then we learned what? There was a story about Rabbi Yochanan ben Matthias. He told his son, go out and hire for us poilim. His son told them, hey guys, food is on us. We're going to give you food. And said Rabbi Yochanan ben Matthias, what are you talking about? Are you really serious when you told them such an open-ended promise? I'll give you food? How much food? They're going to charge from you later. Food by us means a 7-course dinner. Food by us means more than Shlomo HaMelech Suda, and he was the richest man on earth. We're going to give you, no, we demand food. Food by us is an American wedding, smorgasbord to no end, the amount of food you can't even look at. Yeah, in other words, they're children of Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov. Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov had meals you can't imagine. And therefore, don't promise that. You have to quickly go back and say clearly that when we said food, we meant the minimum, just pat and kidneys. We meant to give you bread and some legumes, bread and hummus, bread and some, bebalach, that's all. That was the story. Frag the Gemara, if you notice, there is a contradiction here. Frag the Gemara, Maisa Listo, the Mishnah is contradicting itself. Why? The halacha is what halacha tells you. It's not an open-ended promise. When I tell you food, it means food like everybody else. Everybody else in the other offices, in my fancy office building, whatever the other employers give the employees, that's all I'll give you. No fancy smorgasbord of it, no carving stations. And yet the Maisa Listoir, the story you just brought me, contradicts that. Because the story, Rabbi Yochanan ben Matthias was nervous that unless you minimize it, unless you stipulate less, then they'll demand food to no end. That's not what we said. We said Minhag Medina. There is an automatic, clear, default situation of just the minimum what people normally get. Not an open-ended thing, crazy stuff like Shlomo Melech and Avraham Avinu. Answers the Gemara, right? The classic answer, really the Mishnah is missing something. The word's missing in the Mishnah. This is the correct way of learning the Mishnah. If the person clearly said, food is on me, then riba lohen. Then that's an open-ended decision. And now, it means it's going to give them more than the accepted minhag, which means, if you don't say anything, you're telling Reuven, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda, Shprinzi, you tell people, come tomorrow to work in my house, work in my office for the next month or so. You have work agreement. If you didn't say anything about food, automatically, what binds you is what everybody else does regarding food. Everybody else gives sandwiches. Everybody else gives, 2 sandwiches and 1 bottle of mineral water. That's what they give every day. Automatically, that's what you get. If you didn't mention anything at all, you didn't mention food at all. However, if everybody else gives food anyways, they give sandwiches and water anyways, and you added in the contract and you said, I'll give you food, We know everybody gives food. Why did you add, I'm going to give you food? That means automatically I'll give you more food than everybody else. And the word more is dangerous. Even if you didn't say it, that's how we interpret it. If we anyhow know that everybody gets food, goes without saying, and he's adding, I'll give you food. Oh, what do you mean? You obviously mean more than others without even saying that. More is dangerous. Maybe more means, woohoo, a wedding at the Waldorf Astoria. I don't know what's more food. The poet can fantasize to no end, and he'd be right. And regarding that Maisa, now the Maisa endorses the story of the Mishnah, actually endorses that wavelength, that idea, and not the opposite. Maisa Nami, another a Maisa also to prove that Rabbi Yochanan ben Metzia, that same story, Rabbi Yochanan ben Metzia. We repeat the story. She'omer libno, he told his son was like the HR person, says, go hire people for us, be the headhunter, get workers to, I don't know, plow the field. He went and above everybody else's norm to give food, he said, I'll give you mezoinus. He promised them, but by us, come, we have food for you. Oh, he came back to his father, so happy, I hired workers. Omerloi, the father told the son, Bni, oh my son, even if you'll give them the Sud of Shlomo HaMelech b'shaitoi, at his times of glory, at the time when he was on top of things, even then, they'd be right if they demand even more than Sud of Shlomo HaMelech. Why? We have a concept many times, also in Bava, if you remember, in the 8th parak, we say the children of Israel, the Bnei Yisrael, Yidden, are Bnei Melachim. It's not a cliche statement, it's true. We are the children of Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and that is what? That is to say that they demand even more than Shlomo HaMelech. There's no end. Avraham Avinu's Seudah was even more than Shlomo HaMelech's Seudah. Wow, we're going to compare the Seudah soon. And therefore, those Poyalim tomorrow, they're expecting, I don't know, not just sushi like that. I don't know. There's chocolate with golden pieces in it. What would they demand? Quickly go and tell them, what we really meant was something minimal. And it's not called changing your word, and we explained why before. Now, Frag the Gemara, and we're a little bit back to the Agadita now. Frag the Gemara, wait a second. Are you trying to tell me, Lememra, are you trying to tell me, are you serious when you're telling me the Mishnah, the Seudoso, the Avraham Avinu, Adifa mid Shloimei? Are you telling me that the meal, the banquet, the feast of Avraham Avinu was greater than Shlomo HaMelech's? Is that what you're coming to tell me? Even Shlomo HaMelech's Suda wouldn't be enough for the few poilim here. They need more. They need more than Shlomo. They need Avraham Avinu Suda. Avraham is more than Shlomo. V'aksiv, do you know what you're talking about? Listen to what the Suda of Shlomo was. V'aksiv, it says as follows. Look at the menu of Shlomo Melech Suda, and don't tell your dietitian. Vahi lechem Shloimoi leyom echad. Every day, Shlomo's bread, Shlomo's daily meal consisted of shloishim kor soiles, 30 kor. Kor is a lot. Kor is the biggest measurement in the times of the Gemara and before. 30 kor of fine flour. Soon we'll see what it was used for. The shishim kor kemach, 60 kor of kemach of regular flour, asara boko briim, 10 boko, that's 10 bulls, that's 10 oxen, 10 oxen briim, that is to say the ones that are raised in the house and are being fed indoors in the stable, in the cowshed, the asara boko re'i, and another 10 boko, another 10 big bulls that graze naturally. It's like different flavors. The Gemara is going to discuss it later. Some of them are homegrown. Some of them are more like, natural. Different flavor. You go to the chef, he tells you the difference. 10 of this and 10 of that. How many lambs? Lamb chops are nice. Umeat son, 100 son, 100 sheep. Okay, nice. Levad, besides mi ayal v'tzvi v'yachmor. Ayal, tzvi, and yachmor are really, excuse me, ayal, it's ayal, not ayil. Ayal and ayal are two different things. Ayil is a ram. That's a domesticated animal. That's the husband of the sheep. Ayal is the type, husband, the male. Ayal is a type of deer. Ayal v'tzvi are deer and a hart. H-A-R-T, without the E. There are two animals. V'yachmo is fallow deer. I checked it online. In other words, 3 types of deer. Ubarburim avusim. Barburim avusim may be swans that are fed, force-fed, very fat barburim. Rashi says barburim alter negoilim, because the Gemara later on says the chicken is the best fowl meat that there is. Yeah. So barburim avusim. Bekitzer, that's a lot of food. Now, what was the flour used for? V'omar Gurion ben Istion mishmei de Rav. Gurion ben Istion said on behalf of Rav, halalu, those whatchamacallit, the flour and the fine flour, the 30 core and 60 core, they were not eaten. La milan shel tabochim. They're used as the starch of the cooks, which means that you have a pot full of food, and back then there was a lot of dirt and grime that would come up in the look a little bit like the soup, the corner of the soup. There's a little bit of like grimy thing. So in order to absorb that, they would create like a whole pita. They would create like bread which wasn't there to be eaten. It was only there to absorb the dirt. So the 60 core was not even eaten. 60 core was just what they used as a side thing, as a technical thing to absorb other foods. You see how much more food that there was in ratio to that. All that meat, that was just a snack. Tzike Kdera is kilu, that was the snack thing. I mean, there's even more. Yeah, Tzike Kdera, the Gemara says in Yuma, I didn't know what it means really, and then I looked in Yuma, I compared in Yuma, Tzike Kdera was the man. The man came with sweets, like extra snack, with the main course. So all this meat was just, that's the nourishing part, not the main thing. So that's a lot of food. The Omar Bitzchak, we're continuing with Shlomo before we go on to Avraham Avinu. Says Rabbi Yitzchak, Elef Noshim Hoyu L'Shlomo. Shlomo Melech had 1,000 wives, 1,000 shvigers, 1,000 wives he had. Yeah, why are you laughing? Shlomo Melech had 1,000 wives. Kol achas ve'achas ostolo bebeis okach. Each wife would make for him every day that kind of meal. Each one had her own palace or an own compartment, her own place. Each one would make him such a meal. Why did they all make it together? What kind of lack of coordination? My time. Why would they all do it at the same time? Zusvura, each one thought, Shema etzli soy. Maybe he'll come to eat by me. They never knew, what his, meal planning would be, the schedule. Depends on the meetings. I don't know exactly. I don't know. I'm sure it's very heilige kavanas. But Lamaisa Shlomo Melech every time would eat somewhere else, so they were always prepared in case Shlomo Melech comes. They would have a really nice meal. V'zosvura, another person, the same. Shema etzli soy. Each one would think that, no, the Melech may be sold by me. Now, Shlomo had a lot of food every day. Yet by Avraham Avinu, which you claim had more than Shlomo, look what it says. By Avraham Avinu ksiv, ve'ela bokol ratz Avraham. Avraham Avinu, he was sick, third day of Mila, he would run, he ran to the boko, to the ox, to the bull. Vayikach ben bokor rach v'toiv. He went to the area where the bulls were grazing, and he took one ben bokor, rach v'toiv, tender and good. The Omar of Yehuda, okay, it wasn't just one. There's a drosha which we're going to explain soon. Omar of Yehuda, Omar Rav. The pasuk is not what you think it is. It doesn't say what you think it's saying. Ben bokor is, it's a drosha now. There were three. There were 3 oxen, 3 bulls that he brought the guests, the 3 malachim. Ben bokor echad. The son of one young Ben Bokor is 1. Rach shnaim, tender, is not coming to tell me, it's not an adjective to the noun. Rach alludes to another one, another bull. The toiv shloisha. And the word toiv, good, refers to a third Bokor. The Gemara will explain why. Why do we learn it that way? But Lemaisa, he only had 3 shvarim. That's all. He had a meal with guests, a small meal, 3 shvarim. That's much less. Shlomo HaMelech had, I don't know, thousands, hundreds, and Avraham only 3. So how can you say that Avraham had more than Shlomo? Doesn't make sense. Not true. Answers the Gemara. Very, very simple answer. How many guests? How many people? Ratio. How many people? Awesome. Over there by Avraham Avinu, Tloso Toirit, Tloso Gavri. How many people did he host? 3. 3 people. Yeah. Each one had an entire ox, an entire bull to eat. You want to try? Yeah. So there is 1 ox per person. Over here by Shlomo HaMelech, Lekol Yisrael veYehuda. There was a national meal. Every time, the entire Klal Yisrael, I don't know how that worked out, but many, many, many people would eat at that banquet. Shlomo Melech's banquet with this crazy amount of food was a public event for everybody to eat. I don't know if everybody came. Like, they have today kitchen in Meron, in Stefanesh, They have meals for everybody. They ask you for tzedakah, right? In other words, that was a public thing for everybody. So it came out by ratio that every person ate much less. It's hundreds of bulls, but you have how many people are in Klal Yisrael? Shenema, it says, how many Yidden lived back then? Yehuda and Israel, both Yehuda and Israel were then united. Yeah, Rabim kechol shel sfas. There were so many of them, like the sand on the beach. Yeah, like Avraham Avinu was promised. So Mimela, very good. Of course, Avraham had more, because by all these nice, fancy descriptions, it's very nice. Take into account, and that, by the way, explains why each queen made the meal, because people would come and eat there. Each one thought the entire crowd would come to me together with my husband. People would follow Shlomo HaMelech, run after the celebrity Shlomo HaMelech. They would all eat together with him. So every person, if you divide it by people, it wasn't so much per person. Yeah, if you have a lot of people. Shaken by Avram, you have 3 bulls, but each one got an entire shor, entire ben boko. That's all different story. It's much more. Now, the I don't know who says, I did look yesterday in Ben Yoda by your advice, thank you, in the Marsha. Here, by the Poyalim, why do we say, you're going to be committed to give them like Avraham Avinu? Because here you have a few Poyalim, and each one would ask you, I want an entire bull. That's the idea, yeah. They'd ask you for so much, not like Shlomo. My barburim avusim, what does it mean exactly when you tell me that they ate barburim, which according to Rashi, barburim means chicken. Yeah, look, we very normal in this country to eat. Avusim, what's avusim? Avus means being fed. The one that was fed and he's fat because he's being properly fed. Omar Rav says she'oivsim oison bal kochon, like they do today. Unfortunately, sometimes it's not a nice thing to do. Yeah, they force feed them. They do it to geese. They do it to geese for the liver. Yeah. So Lamaisa, those animals would be chicken. They were so fat they would be force fed until they were really, really fat. So Shmuel argues with Rav and says, Shavusim v'oimdim eleim. No, they were naturally fat because they would eat a lot. Yeah, they never joined Eaters Anonymous. Those animals, those bovuim, those chicken. That chicken was a very fat chicken naturally, but just eating a lot. Who cares? I'm asking you a question. What? No, this is chicken. This is chicken. Barburim in modern Hebrew means swans. But Rashi says barburim are not geese for sure. Barburim are swans in modern Hebrew. But Rashi says barburim is tarnegolim. Rashi says barburim are chicken. Because the Gemara later on says chicken are the best flavor is chicken. So now, wait a second. So who cares? I'm asking you a question. Who cares? Well, once again, who cares if by the Suda of Shlomo the meat was naturally fed or force fed? So I saw quite a lot of Meforshim said the same thing. The Mechlokes Rav Shmuel has to do with today's reality too, not just back then. Rav says that the best meat is the one that's being force fed. Shmuel said that it's not good. Shmuel was a doctor. And Shmuel, as the doctor said, it's not good for the human being who eats it, and it's not good for the animal either to be force-fed. To force-feed an animal is not a good thing to do. Maybe it's Arba L'chaim, but it's also not healthy for the person himself to eat it. That's why Rav and Shmuel are even talking today. Next time you go to, the butcher shop, buy chicken, you say not force-fed chicken. It's not a good thing according to Shmuel, and Shmuel in that is amazing because he's a doctor, so he was also a veteriner like your son. 1 second. Yeah, okay. Time for questions. Yes, parents? Okay. Let's continue. Now, let's continue. Okay. Rabbi Yochanan explains what's his business with avusim, with those animals that were so fat in Shlomo Melech's banquet. Mevin toir mimariso, they would bring a tow, a bull, a show. They would bring a bull from his place of grazing. Deloy anis. He was a fat show that never had to work. He was never forced to work. In other words, that show was, like just lying around, in front of the TV. The show was like very, very fat and lazy, idle show, never did anything, and that's what they want. Yeah, that's why they want to dafka have a show that doesn't have muscles, but has more fat. Yeah, the more fat, less muscles. Yeah, that's what they want, and it's just very, very naturally fat. because it's a couch potato kind of show. So automatically it's fat. Now, but they bring a Tarnagoylis from the place where it's pecking the food. Also, Tarnagoylis, they never laid eggs. It was never a mother having to run after the children. Rashi says, but the Loya Nisa, it's a chicken female that never had to take care of her family, so to speak. Yeah, it was just lying there doing nothing, it's just getting fatter and fatter. Mimela, that kind of animal is very mishubach. Omar Rabbi Yochanan, calls Rabbi Yochanan and says something else. Muvchar sheshabehemos show, the best animal out of the behemoths for food, for eating, the best poultry when it comes to food from animals, yeah, is the show, the bull. Muvchar shebeoifois, the best of the birds is tarnagolis, is chicken. So I looked and I thought maybe there's a lot of philosophy over here. Show is Melkovo. I looked in the Maharal. I thought the Maharal would philosophize here. The Maharal, as philosophical as he tends to get, is one line. Maharal, he says, Nafkamina for Kovet Shabbos. Very simple. That's all. The Gemara is trying to tell you, next time you shop for Shabbos, you should know what's the best thing to buy, what halacha views as the best meat. Yeah, unless you feel otherwise, personally, matter of taste. But be'etzem, the best food to buy for Shabbos is show. Yeah, ask your wife to buy, a nice piece of, veal. Yeah, and the best from the poultry is chicken. Yeah, chicken, not duck and not turkey, but chicken. That's the best one. Yeah, Israelis, we like chicken. Amar Amema. Yeah. Now Amema continues and says, Zagta uchmeta, the black hen, the black chicken, the black hen. Ki batnita, when it's fat, it has a lot of beten. Yeah, it's a fat black chicken. I don't know why dafka black, but it says uchmeta. The mishtakcha beinei atzri, that is found beinei atzri. It eats its food in the beinei atzri, between the wine presses. Yeah, in the area where there's wine going on there. Maybe the wine has some good ashpo. The loy Metzia pasya kanya. And if it's so fat that it can't walk straight over the cane, yeah, it can't walk the distance of one cane. It's so fat, yeah, it's like it's like staggering and can barely walk. It's so fat. That's the best one. I'm sure there's a lot of kabbalistic secrets over here, but I didn't see anything in the Meforshim. But the less work they do, the better they are as food for us. Maybe the message is, everybody has everything in the world has its tafkid. Everyone in the world, everything in the world has its, something, a role to play. In this case, it's very, very fat animals that can be used as food for people. And by the way, they say if you don't eat any carbs at all, there's a diet like that, ketogenic. If you don't eat any carbohydrates, then fat protein is very healthy for you. Yeah, look it up. It's a very good diet for those who follow it strictly. So yeah, fat proteins can be good in the correct diet. Now we're going to talk about Avraham Avinu. Now we're going to focus on Avraham Avinu. Omar Rav Yehuda Omarav, Rav Yehuda Omarav, which we quoted before and we're going to quote again. What does it mean, Boko? Ben Boko Echad, yeah, Ben Boko Rach V'Tov, Ben Boko, yeah, young veal, yeah, young calf, means one. There was one unit, one calf, one Ben Boko. Rach Shnaim, the word tender alludes to that there was another animal there. There was a second calf. The Tov, the word Tov, which means good, Shloisha, refers to a third one. Correct the Gemara, how do you know? They machad. Maybe there was only one animal there. There was one cow there. And kedamri imshi rakich v'tav. As people say, rach v'tov. When people talk, that's how they talk. They say egel rach v'tov, and it's tender and good. Yeah. So maybe the words tender and good are not extra, but people say tender, good, and that's how the Torah talks. The Torah is giving you adjectives descriptions to the one animal that was there, not three. Answers the Gemara, no. If there was regular talk, like regular grammar, the noun and the descriptions, lichtov, the Gemara, the Chumash should have written rach toiv. The Chumash should have written egel rach toiv. The word the means there's an extra thing here. Rach toiv means, well tendered, high quality tender. Why do you have to say rach v'toiv? You're repeating yourself. And the word vov, the letter vov, seems like you're adding something. My v'toiv. Why is saying and also it was good? Something doesn't work right here. Shma mina l'drosho. It comes to tell you, no, the drosho, not the pashup pshat, but the drosho that we're trying to make here, the limud we're trying to deduce over here, is telling me there was and good means and there was another one that was good. So there are only two. Egel rach v'toiv. There was a tender egel and the good one, so that's only two. And says Gemara, no. Mit the toiv ledrosho, rach nami ledrosho. Since the word toiv usually means a description of the first one, and here it means an entirely new unit, the drosha tells you, no, the word toiv means a whole new egel, so mimela, the word rach also means an entirely new egel. And there were three agolim, which makes sense because there were three guests, and each one got the same thing. Avraham Avinu also would not discriminate one guest on the expense of the others. Yeah. Meisiv Rabba. Now the Gemara is going to question that. The Gemara is going to question again and again, were there really three animals and not one? Meisiv Rabba Barula. Rabba Barula is asking a question. Vitem Rav Oishia. Some say it was Rav Oishia. Vitem Rav Nosan Rav Yoshia. Some say it was Rav Nosan son of Rav Yoshia. It says Va'iten Elanar. It says about Avraham Avinu when it describes the meal. He gave the calf. He gave the animal to the nar, to the boy. Va'imar lasos oisoi. And the nar made, he shechted, he prepared it. It is one, not oisom. Yeah, he gave it to the lad. He gave it to the boy. That's one. And says Gemara, no. Kol chad v'chad yavel nar. Chad. Each one of the three was giving to a boy. He gave it to a boy, and he gave number two to the second boy, number three to the third boy, which is interesting because Rashi says in the Chumash that nar was a Shmuel. He wanted to educate Shmuel to be machnis orchim. They say till today, Arabs, with all the issues we have with them, machnis orchim. Yeah. So the Maisa here it doesn't say that. Here it looks like there were three boys, and each boy got one egel to shecht one egel. So the three, one per each, and each chef, each sous chef, prepared and shechted the one egel. Okay, it could be. It's not so much in Rashi. You're saying one of them was Ishmael, the other ones were two other boys. Yeah, very nice. It could be. Nice. Shrek the Gemara again. Ve'ika chema v'cholov. We're not entering the kashrus question here. Yeah, but he took butter and milk. You know, maybe that was the first part of the meal. Uben habokar asher also. And the ben bokor, the one ben bokor that he prepared, Beitan Lifneim, he gave them. Oh, that's again one. Ben Haboko, he gave them Ben Boko. Answers the Gemara, no, again, the Kama Dematia, Aisila Kamayu. As the three bulls were getting ready, were prepared in the kitchen, they were ready one after the other. Sometimes in the restaurant, right, they serve you the meal, then another one, right? The courses come one after the other. Sometimes too late. The Lamaisa over here, Kama, each one of the bulls would come first out of the kitchen, the veal would come, then another one, and then another one. Dafka Avraham Avinu did it, so the Malachim don't have to wait. Yeah, I don't know if he knew there were Malachim or not, that's a big question. Yeah, but Lamaisa, he didn't want the guests to wait. So Divaila, meanwhile, as long as one dish is ready, he got the dish out of the kitchen, one, another one, and another one. That's why it says singular, but it doesn't mean there was only one. There were really three. Why eating so much? Why do you need three? There were three people. Why are you really giving so much extra food? Yeah, to the people. Why do you need three entire veals, entire oxen, one per person? Tiski bechad. Isn't it enough to have one? One bull for three people? That's a lot, even. Yeah. And says the Gemara, Omar of Chanan Barova. You know why? He wanted to feed them three leshonos, three tongues in chardal, three tongues in mustard. Yeah, Rashi says that's a choshuv kind of food. It's Michael of Gdula, Chashivus, because tongue in chardal is very fancy, and that's what he wanted to feed them. Last time I checked, I think, I didn't check that well, a cow, a bull, an ox only has one tongue in each cow, right? So in order to achieve and actually have three tongues, one per person, and give them fancy royal meal, you have to shech the entire animal. The rest of the meat, he'll try and chop around as much as he can. I don't know, the rest he'll give the children, whatever he'll do, yeah? He had people, he had avodim, right? And there was a lot of, Avraham Avinu was also surrounded by a lot of people, it's true. And therefore, there were three Lashanis and Chardal. Avraham Avinu wanted to show them, One of them, I already now confused with Marsha and which one Ben Yoda, which one says what. One of them says Lashon Shel Chardal also makes the person, it whets the appetite, makes the person want to eat more. Yes, Avraham Avinu wanted to give a lot of food, and that's why he gave them that, appetizer, an entire lotion, a whole tongue in mustard, and that would, open the stomach to eat more. It was a big machnis orchim, shefa, rachves, midas achesed. Avraham is midas achesed. Omar bitanchum barchaniloi. Now, on that same vein, the question is, how could the malachim eat? Last time I saw Malach didn't eat. Question. Thank you very much. This is a source for Voisai. Once in Rome, do as the Romans do. But we have a better source. A person should never change from local minhag. What other people do around you, respect the local custom, the local norm, and try and fit in to the hosts, to the environment that hosts you. Even if you're different, hosted by someone, respect his thing. Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Shemaim, that he was hosted by who? The Malachim. No, they're not so happy with him yet, but that's where he was in the environment of Shemaim. He did not eat any bread in Shemaim. They don't eat bread. Moshe Rabbeinu adapted himself to the environment, just like nobody else in Shemaim eats anything physical, not Hashem Chas v'Shalom, not the Malachim, not the Tzaddikim. Nobody here eats actually. There is no Sam's Burger in Shemaim, right? And so too, Moshe Rabbeinu in Shemaim didn't eat. Malach HaShos, on the other hand, the Malachim were just the other way around. Yodu Lamata, they went downstairs, they came down to this world, and they really ate bread. You see, they ate the bread of Avraham Avinu. They ate the meat, they ate the cheese, the butter, they ate everything. They adapted themselves to the environment, they were respectful. Are you serious? You really think that Malachim actually ate sal kadaitach? Do you think the Malachim physically ate? They have no physicality, there's no food. Ela ema must be, you must say, niru kemisha ochlu v'shothu. They faked it. They looked as if they're eating and drinking. We learned, I think, in Kita Aleph that the fire, they ate it, and because Malachim are fire, they consumed it with the fire. That's what I was told. I don't know what the source is, but could very well be. The Maise kemisha ochlu v'shothu. Toysus brings down a medrash, Talmud the Bible. The first Toysus in the page says that that's an issue of machloikas. Talmud the Bible, and I saw it inside yesterday, says the Malachim really ate. That's another interesting topic of Malachim. Yeah, according to Agmar, the Malachim cannot eat. It just cannot happen. They faked it well. They played with a fork. They made fire or something. The food disappeared. Okay, they didn't really eat. There's no eating by Malachim. As much as they try to be respectful, it doesn't work. We cannot fly. They cannot eat. The Medrash Talmud the Bible says, and I saw it inside. He says no. HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw Avraham Avinu's efforts. First of all, his tzidkus and his great effort and exertion to bring guests. So Hashem made the Malachim being able to eat. Those Malachim really ate. Hashem gave them the power to eat. Just like we cannot fly, and Hashem can make a miracle that we will fly. We usually don't have that ability. The Malachim really physically ate. Yeah, ad kedei kach that they became flesh and blood. Not really, but up to the point that they could eat. Hashem did that in honor of Avraham Avinu, that he made such a fancy meal. He deserves that his guests will really eat the food. Omar V'Yehuda Amarav. Oh, now beautiful Agadita about Mida Keneged Mida. Omar V'Yehuda Amarav. Chol Mashos Avraham Avinu leMalochei HaShores be'atzmoi. Every type of service that's mentioned in that story of the Malachim in his house, that Avraham Avinu did by himself, with his own hands, that he actually did it himself, Hashem paid his descendants, which is us, or Bnei Israel in the Midbar. Hashem himself actually also did the same, treated us, Bnei Israel, himself, personal service in the Midbar, as we're going to see. The Kol Mashasa Avraham Adidei Shaliach. However, other actions that Avraham Avinu did not do by himself, he did it through a shliach, through a messenger, a helper. He got other people to do the job for the orchim, which is a bit of a lower level, relatively. Also, Hashem too did it. In other words, Hashem helped us and served us in the midbar. That's where Hashem hosted us in the midbar. those same kind of things Hashem did to us through a messenger, through a shliach. And if you didn't understand it, you just have to see the Gemara weiter. Case number one, action number one, Velaboko Ratz Avram, as Ellen said very nicely, Avraham Avinu really ran the effort. Yeah, what did he do? He ran after the calf all the way to Marasa Machpelah. Avraham Avinu really ran himself after, yeah, or towards the boko, the veal, the calf, and there was a personal effort on his side. And Hashem paid him back through what? Through his children, the Ruach Nosom Eis Hashem. When it came to feeding Israel the Slav, as negative as the Slav was, but Lemaisa, the Slav was food, was meat that Bnei Israel had and enjoyed up to a point, right? By some of the tzaddikim. In other words, the Ruach Nosom Eis Hashem, when Hashem gave the Slav to Bnei Israel, the wind that brought the Slav to Bnei Israel, Me'eis Hashem, extra words. The Ruach, the wind that flew and blew away the birds, came straight from Hashem's hands, whatever that means. In other words, Kilo Hashem personally took care of Bnei Israel, giving them meat, just like Avram himself with his own body gave the Malachim the meat, which is also, by the way, very nice. Avram is treating angelic beings, beings from the higher worlds. In the Midrash, it's the other way around. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who was all spiritual, is treating Bnei Israel, the mortals, the flesh and blood, same way, in a personal way. Next, Vayikach Chema v'cholov. Avraham Avinu himself went to the fridge, brought the Chema v'cholov, whatever. He went and he brought butter and milk himself with his own hands. Avraham Avinu, Gdol Ador, he himself served them, his own hands. In return to that, Hineni mamti elochem lechem min hashamayim. Hashem says, I personally will shower you with bread from Shamayim. That's milk and butter, and that is bread. Answers the Maharsha, says the Maharsha very nicely. He says, if you look at the you see how the man is described, one of the description is Leshad Hashemen. What's Leshad? You can say all kinds of things. Leshad means breast in Hebrew. And the Gemara in Yoma, Ayin something, the Yoma that talks all about the man around Ayin Bava, and there, it says over there, we all know the Medrash that the man had any taste you're interested, right? You can fantasize about, I don't know, sushi, blinches, whatever you want. Same thing, the baby eats in his mother's milk can find all kinds of different flavors. They say whatever the woman eats affects the milk. Yes, it does. Yeah. In other words, the mother's milk is really translation, so to speak, of all kinds of foods. Oh, so you see, there's a milk aspect in the man of being, wow, any flavor I want. I don't know. Yeah, whatever the flavor is. I don't know. Ice cream, 52 different flavors. Chinese, Japanese, whatever you want. That is like a mother's milk. That was beschar that Avraham Avinu gave the milk to the malachim in his own hands. Hashem from his own hands, whatever that means, gave us the man from Shamayim. Number 3, V'hu oimed alehem tachas ha'etz. Avraham Avinu stood by himself. He didn't say, okay, guys, I'm going to sit and learn. And actually, he was in pain. He was in real pain the entire time. It was the 3rd day of the bris milah. That was quite painful. Yeah, we're going to see later very hard descriptions of how bad that was. So Avraham Avinu didn't say, listen, I served you. Will you guys manage on your own? I'm going to bed. No, he stood there by himself under the tree, making sure that everything runs properly. And in return of that personal service, Hineni oimed, just like Avraham Avinu stood, Hashem himself, Hineni oimed lefonecha sham al hatzur. Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu. I don't know if people always remember that. There was one incident in the Torah that Hashem asked Moshe Rabbeinu to stand by a tzur, by a rock, and hit the rock, and the water should come out. That was the beginning of the 40 years. The sad incidents when he told him to talk was at the end of the 40 years, Parshas Chukas. Parshas Shlach, right after the story, the Kriyas Yamsuf, the Mora, the business, then Hashem told him, hit the rock, and Hashem told him, I'll stand over there by the tzur. I'll make sure I'll be there with you, because it's a big miracle, right? You're going to hit the rock and the water will come out. Don't worry, Moshe Rabbeinu. I'll be there to supervise and make sure that it really happens. So just like Avraham Avinu was omed, what does it mean omed? He stood by the malachim. So too, Hashem gave personal care to Moshe Rabbeinu and stood by his side when he was hitting the rock. The Avram, you can also say he gave them water, by the way. He gave them water, as we're going to see later. 1 second, when I'll be with you soon. Avram escorted them. He gave them levaya, eshel, achia shtia, levoyo. Avraham Avinu himself escorted them out of his tent. Hashem escorted Bnei Israel day and night for 40 years, right? Every day. I mean, not every day they traveled, but whenever they traveled, Hashem would be there with his onon or the Eish at night, escorting and showing them the way. Now, on the other hand, 1 second, Yukach na me'at mayim. There was only one thing. There was only one thing which I hinted to you before that Avraham Avinu did not do personally. He asked other people to do it for the Malachim. Yukach na me'at mayim. What does Yukach mean in grammar? Yukach, it shall be taken. It's passive voice in grammar. Let some water be taken and brought here. Yeah, Avraham Avinu said, can water be brought, please, to the table? He himself didn't bring it for whichever reason. And in return of that, the kisa batzu v'yotzu memenu mayim v'shosa'am. At the very same incident, Hashem stood by the rock, by the rock that produced water. But lemaisa, Hashem did not bring water, so to speak, personally in a very miraculous way from Shamayim. Yeah, it's not like each one found, a bottle of neviot mineral water right by him. If there was something a bit more, I would say, a distance from Hashem. He had to hit the rock, and the water came from the rock. It's less directly connected to Hashem. Yeah, it's just like Avraham Avinu asked water to be brought, and was less personally, physically involved. That's the idea. However, there is an idea, and thank you for your patience, that Avraham Avinu did not do everything on his own for a good reason. He wanted to be mechanech. He wanted to educate the Bnei Habayis to be involved in the mitzvah, right? When an oni comes to the door, you can either say, you bring him the shekel or 5 or 10 shekels, however much you give, or you ask your little son or daughter, you give him to be mechanech them to the act of giving. That's what I'm saying. We can discuss that, but I'm saying there are two aspects here. Yes, questions and comments. What we just said now, this piece we just said now argues on another opinion of Reb Chama bar Chanina. You'll have to detect exactly, and if not, I'll tell you exactly which point is it that argues on Rav Chama bar Chanina. Which point does the previous opinion and Rav Chama bar Chanina argue? Rav Chama bar Chanina. Because of 3 things that Avraham Avinu did, in return, that Bnei Israel were zoiche, had the merit of 3 things. What is that? Because of the butter and milk Avram gave the Malachim, they're zoiche to have the man. Tick, that's good. That's the same as we said, right? Because of Avraham Avinu standing over the Malachim, there is zoiche to have a tall, a proud, good Amud Onon, a pillar of cloud, of not smoke, of cloud, That's not the same. Remember? We said Avram standing, what did it create? What's chus? That Hashem stood by the rock. Here it says no, they argue. They say no. What evoked the Rachmim of Hashem in the Midbar, Avram standing, caused the Kadosh Baruch Hu to actually stand by them for 40 years and always be there with his tall Amud Onon. Because of Yukach na me'at mayim, Avraham Avinu said, bring some water. Because of that, Be'er Shel Miriam, don't get confused. The Be'er of Miriam started from that one time of hitting the rock, the good rock. The one that's supposed to be, it says Rashi, is where Be'er Shel Miriam started, and it followed them. It was actually a rock that followed them for 40 years until the other incident with the whole mice, and it hid amongst the rocks. So there's one point to disagree. You have to listen to an unbelievably nice pshat, blow your mind, and I think it's such a beautiful piece to do it bitochen. I would even make a video on it as a separate video. Ellen is asking a question, and that question is asked by Marsha and many others. Are you telling me here that Avraham Avinu's chus, the merit of Avraham Avinu's good deeds and beautiful hosting of Chnos Sorchim, that's what brought the 3 big ones? The man, the Be'er, and Anon HaKovod? What were you taught in Gan? What do we always know? Miriam is the water, Moshe is the man, and Anon is Aaron. Is it Avraham Avinu, all 3? Or is it the 3 major stars in the Midbar that brought it? Can somebody please explain? Unbelievable. almost Shurz Ben Ish Chai. Thank you. He says, listen to this. He says, really, to sum it up before I start, if Bnei Israel would have behaved themselves in the Midbar, the Zchus of Avraham would have continued. In other words, Bnei Israel, when they left Mitzrayim, they had be'etzem the Zchus of Avraham Avinu. They always managed to mess up so much that they missed, and the Zchus of Avraham Avinu expired because of their misbehavior. Then they needed a new Zchus, and then came to the rescue to clean up the mess, came to the rescue a new Zchus in the form of the current people, which is Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam. How does that work? When they left Mitzrayim, it says, Bnei Yisrael yotzim b'yad Roma. Yad Roma, we always see as positive. Yad Roma, oh, wow. We are an independent nation. Rashi says, Gvura gvoyahu mefulsemes. There's an aspect here of, you know, we are free, we are a nation, ha, 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 ha. There was a little bit of that there. Because of that, a little bit of haughtiness, that a little bit of arrogance that was there, they missed the Zchus of Avraham Avinu that was, would give them the onon. They missed that. It had to be renewed subscription, not an automatic renewal of the subscription. They had to get Aaron a Kohen, who was all love and peace and anova, to renew that. What about the man? Complains, give us back to Mitzrayim. Crazy, what are you doing? The midbar, we can't eat. It's the kids are going to die. We're starving. We're dying. I'm not judging them. I don't know what I would have done. Because of their lack of bitachon, that's why the Zchus of Avraham Avinu stopped. They would have gotten it anyways. Wait a few more minutes and stop fetching and stop complaining. You don't have parnasa. Hashem has the parnasa for you already. Only because you complained like because you complained, gufa, the Zchus of Avraham, which was naturally there, expired, stopped, and now you need a new Zchus of Moshe. What about the water? Same thing. They complained, no water, no water. Complained like a whole bunch of things. And therefore, the Zchus of Avraham Avinu stopped. Miriam had to, run in and quickly fix the mess, and she created the new Zchus for them. What do we see from there? The more we complain, the less we have Zchusim. And less we complain, we have more bitachon. The Zchus that's already there is the same. I want to add, allow me to say one chiddush today. I want to add something which I think Baruch Shem Yishamayim. What was the lack of Bnei? What was the chisaron of Bnei Israel? Gaiva and lack of bitachon. Where's my next salary coming from? Yeah, that is lack of emuna. Who was the master of emuna? Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu is the master of emuna. V'yamin b'Hashem v'chshav tzedakah. Avraham Avinu, with his strong faith in emuna, he already has everything ready for you. You behave in a way that's the opposite of Avraham Avinu. You behave in an arrogant way. You behave in a way that, where will my salary come from? You're worried. You're lacking emuna. Avraham Avinu's chus stops. Now you need a new chus of the people who take care of you currently, which is Moshe, Aaron, and Miriam. Kach nearly. Okay? That, I think, is a very nice way to finish the weekend, to finish the week, and start. We didn't even get to Baruch Shtickle Torah. We'll see that on Sunday. Questions soon. Thank you very much. Have an amazing, amazing Friday, Shabbos. See you again on Sunday. And stay tuned with us here in Avos Shalom. Everybody should come inside. Bring your friends. Subscribe to the YouTube. It's a new mitzvah. And also to the Torah Anytime viewers. Thank you very much. It's Locho. And goodbye from Beit Shemesh.